Welcome to Discover Barnstable, the official podcast of the town of Barnstable, a podcast where you can meet the people who steward the programs and services that connect us to our quality of life here in the town of Barnstable. We invite you to join the conversation as we navigate municipal government and our community pathways to help you discover Barnstable. On this episode of Discover Barnstable, we are joined by Director of Community Services, Chris Gonnella. Chris, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So we're going to do a little Hyannis Golf building update because there were some unfortunate things that happened in the building. So let's start with the burst pipe that happened.
Yeah.
And how and why and...
Well, I mean, it's an antiquated building. It's an older building, I believe 1980 construction. If everybody remembers a real cold week back in February, it was February 4th, actually, and I got that phone call that there was water in a building that shouldn't be there, and went out to the site, and it was completely inundated with water. The pipe burst on the third floor, which is the office area, in an eave space that was insulated. And actually, staff had made preparations, left certain vents open and doors open and the heat up. But unfortunately, it wasn't enough, and it succumbed to the cold temperatures, and it poured water throughout from the third floor all the way down to the basement level.
Yeah, if you're going to have a pipe burst, that's almost kind of like the worst possible scenario is the third floor, because it's just going to go down to the second floor, down to the first floor. And it's going to ruin everything.
It was quite the sight to see. The function room area on the ground level, I call it, or the first floor. When I went there, the water was still coming out of the ceilings. The drywall was hanging down.
Oh, gosh.
And then you got down the stairs to the lower level, and it was probably 3 to 4 inches of water. Things floating.
Wow.
Yeah, it was quite the scene.
Wow. So it's February, not necessarily a hot golf time. It's not, the courses aren't jam-packed full of people, but there are those hardy people that are still playing golf 365 days a year. So what did you guys do immediately to kind of stabilize the situation?
Well, first and foremost, we contacted an emergency contractor to come out and try to get the water and everything kind of stabilized. We are very fortunate at Community Services, and this town knows residents and visitors of the courses that our staff is excellent. We immediately shifted gears because typically we have Old Barnstable Fairgrounds closed during that time of the year. And with not having a clubhouse and not being insured, within a day, we were able to open that golf course, recutting of cups, putting out tee markers. So we closed Hyannis just in the short term, not having a clubhouse and not knowing what was going on, but then members and other people still had a place to play golf.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so we were very fortunate with doing that, and Jesse Scheckman, the director of golf, kind of handled that first response as far as getting a contractor out there, setting up dehumidifiers. That was the initial phase of it, is to try to let's remedy the situation to where we are, and then we can go from there. We have procurement processes and everything else that we have to go through.
Yeah, so that's the kind of the next part is like, what has the process been like since February? Because, at first you're just kind of triaging, you're trying to get the water to stop, you're kind of drying things out. And the next piece of it is dealing with insurance companies and procurement and kind of going down that road. And it was a lot of damage and a lot that had to be taken into account in order to make a plan to move forward.
Yeah, it's a challenge. Again, we're very fortunate to have people with asset management and David Anthony and insurance and help me navigate this first process to me. But having some DPW experiences I have and knowing the conditions of an older building or the potential, it's not just, you can have a demolition crew come in and take care of things. We knew that there were asbestos materials. There had to be a building hygienist come out. They did moisture maps. They did asbestos maps. We had 2 rounds of asbestos testing done. Then you're trying to work with an insurance company to do direction of payment because anything over the $10,000 threshold. And we're going, we have the wet floors. The floors are wet. It's not doing any service by being there. And trying to navigate those initial processes of getting some of the abatement work done after the testing. Those things are I found to be easy now that I'm kind of where we are today. But those other processes lead to, we don't have ADA compliancy. and you reach certain thresholds with trying to rehabilitate a building, and you have to now install everything to code. So now we're up against code compliancy, as far as potentially a sprinkler system being installed, ADA access. We just submitted a letter to get a lift approved instead of an elevator. There's challenges that come with those. It's a never-ending tree. So you say, oh, we need a sprinkler system. Well, the water capacity that is needed is a 6-inch main line, and the closest hydrant is on 132, and it's a 4-inch main line. So now we're going through a process of trying to navigate conservation, bring in a separate pipe that would just run the sprinkler system. So like I said, every time you think you nail down something else kind of explodes from that point. But I'm happy to say that it's frustrating, the processes, and you want things done. But I mean, having a loss at your own home, or anybody that has, understands that these things take time. And this is a typical house on Cape Cod, 1,500 to 2,000 square feet. We're talking about a 10,000 square foot building.
Yeah, it's not a small space.
No, and asbestos and staff. I mean, we've had to relocate staff out of there. And just navigating that process, and then trying to work with the insurance company as far as, even trying to get to a point where we are now, where we've hired an architectural firm to work with us and the insurance company, was quite a dollar amount. It was over $140,000 just to try to help us produce those documents. But I think it's a huge step, and it took a long time to get to that point. And there has been some activity on that. I can just say that we have received in this last week preliminary 90% drawings. And we also looked at it, as I mentioned during the budget calendar and presentation to town council. I'm a big proponent of doing things right and trying to do them once.
Yes.
So we had a concessionaire in there, and they had put a lot of their own money into that facility. But it was condensation and pipes and all these other issues. And there's 3 different HVAC components. So if we have everything torn up, similar as your own house, it's like, well, now could be the time to really make these things and solidify these things for the next 20, 30 years with this building, along with ADA compliancy. How about efficiencies?
Right.
LED lighting, new electrical panels. We're looking at the whole entire HVAC system.
Wow.
Yeah, none of the pipes in the whole building as far as HVAC were insulated, not one.
Wow.
So yeah, it's a huge investment, but it's a cost savings down the road, and it's what's right environmentally.
Right.
So at the end of the day, I'm hopeful that we can get a good insurance claim, and that we can get a capital improvement project funded for those things that aren't related to the loss,
right,
that are pertinent to do at this time.
So let's talk about, so this happened in February, but you still had a great summer season. So what are some of the changes that you made and that are going to continue next summer as well, so people are aware this isn't going to be a quick turnaround? The building is not going to be in use probably till 2025, thinking?
Yeah, I don't like to...
you don't give exacts. I understand.
I don't like to give dates, but I like to also, work in real time.
Right.
These processes are ongoing. I would anticipate, if I was a member or someone visiting the course, that we are doing our best to secure a concession. We had a mobile truck out there through Mass Military Support Foundation this year. Mm-hmm. We're in the process now of trying to renew that. Again, it's another complicated process. Yep. They had a 3-year lease, and now it's a 2-year renewal. It's like, well, how can we renew a lease for a building we don't have?
Exactly.
But on the same token, we need to be equitable and find out if there's anybody else that would like to come to that spot. Mm-hmm. And knowing from HYCC, concessions are hard to get. But I would expect that we're going to have a food and beverage service. I would expect great playing conditions. We're looking at closing, as you know. We're closing Hyannis again this year, shifting operations to Old Barnstable Fairgrounds. And we're hoping that that'll allow some extra maintenance, some tree work. I know they just recently sodded the 10th tee. Playing conditions as best as they can be. Operations will be out of that mobile pro shop again. The portable bathrooms will be there again, and wash stations. I would say probably status quo for next year. My hope is that we can have all of the mobiles, the mobile trailer and the bathrooms and everything put away next November, and that we are at least have our staff back in, and as you mentioned, kicking off things in the spring of 2025.
Yeah, we'll keep our fingers crossed, but we also know that, like you've already said, things kind of pop up and you have to deal with them as they come up. So the goal will be for 2025, but everyone needs to be a little bit flexible.
Yeah, I mean, we want it back worse than anybody.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's we've been
being in flux is not
No,
fun.
but I mean, and people look at it, and we're very fortunate that golf is in the state of where it is. It experienced a huge amount of growth during COVID. And it's one of those things, I don't know if you've ever played, but it is quite addictive and people love it. And it's something that you can do from a very young age to a very old age. And, more than the function room and these large events, the things that concern Director Scheckman and myself are those small groups. So if you and I were coming from, 2 different states as college friends and we wanted to have, you're bringing 3 of your friends and I'm bringing 3 of my 4, it's those 8 to 12 people that we're really trying to accommodate now, and in hopes that they will return on an annual basis.
Right.
We are working again through the capital improvement project. We're trying to submit several things, but I mean, the money is what it is, and we'd love to be able to do a bunker renovation project at Hyannis Golf Course. We're really trying to bring it back, not just the clubhouse, but the whole facility. And now it's kind of a relaunch, which would then, bring people back. Like, wow, this place has really come around. It's a state-of-the-art clubhouse now. They've redid the bunkers, which was our number one complaint. And let's go play Hyannis Golf Course.
Right. Did you notice any changes in the revenue over the summer with the golf operations?
Yeah, I mean, there was definitely some lost revenue. I mean, we didn't get any funds from the concession area, which we would typically. But I think that there is definitely some lost revenue. But with the added growth of golf, I think the biggest issue is accessibility to playing golf. So what are we taking care of? We're taking care of our members first. So if these other outside events don't happen, it's a double-edged sword, so to speak. So you're giving people who want to play golf and who have paid the money to become members more time, and yet you're reducing revenue from having these other people who do pay daily or larger functions. Right.
Is there anything else about this whole Hyannis Golf building that I didn't ask you and you want to make sure our listeners are aware of?
No, it's just the staff is doing what we can to be as friendly and courtesy as we can, and like I said, they've had to shift different places and different operations, and please be patient with us. We're here to accommodate the people who want to get there, and we have our eyes on improving the facility. And I think we're in a situation, meaning the town, financially viable, where we're actually generating surplus, where I anticipate and I'm hopeful that we all have a great golf course. It's not really the second fiddle to Old Barnstable Fairgrounds. I mean, I haven't played golf with 4 children in 7 years, but it's 2 different golf courses. It's a much more challenging golf course. My hope is that becomes just as well-renowned as Old Barnstable Fairgrounds does.
Wonderful. So we're going to switch gears right now. We're going to go to our extra bonus question for you. If I was to look at the top of your playlist for music, what are you listening to right now?
Well, I have Apple Music and I have Sirius XM. And this is a great question, and it's a trick question, but I've actually asked it during an interview because it kind of tells you where people are at.
Oh.
I love all kinds of music, but Jerry Garcia, Grateful Dead, all the way.
Okay.
Now, I can go anywhere from Sam Cooke to country to old school 90s rap, but the staple in my playlist is definitely the Grateful Dead. If my 5-year-old can sing songs of it, then I've done something wrong or right, depending on your perspective.
And this is why I love this question, because I would have never guessed that you were a Deadhead. But now I know.
Full blown.
You get to know a little bit extra something about people when you ask that question. Chris, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it. Thanks for spending time with us and listening to Discover Barnstable, the official podcast of the town of Barnstable. We hope you found a new understanding of how your municipal government works for you and our community. Be sure to drop us a line at podcast@town.barnstable.ma.us and let us know what you would like to discover next. Until next time, go Discover Barnstable.